The encounter. The alien commander Xald stood in front of the large viewing screen, gazing at the restrained human in the interrogation cell. The tales of humans were legendary, creatures so resilient that no known restraints could hold them. Today, Xald would test those legends. His security operator, visibly nervous, reported, "The restraints have been reinforced, sir. No cybernetic enhancements detected." Xald nodded, trying to appear confident. "I'm going in." As he entered the cell, the human, seated at a metal table, looked up and grinned. The human's teeth were bared in a way that made Xald's scales tighten with unease. He narrated to the built-in recorders. Interview commenced at 27:21 to 43:98. Present in the room are Commander Xald and the captured alien pilot. The human spoke. "Steve." Xald raised a brow. "What?" "My name is Steve. I am a human." Xald struggled to maintain his composure. This was it. He had done it. He had captured a human. The elusive enemy who never left their dead or any scrap of their technology behind. He had won now. "You will answer my questions and nothing more," Xald commanded. Steve shrugged, still smiling. "Sure. What are you doing here?" Xald demanded. The human's grin widened. "Answering your question." Xald frowned. This human was not intimidated. "Do you think this attitude will help you?" Steve pushed the heavy gauntlet away from his hand, allowing him to lean forward. "If you want this to be fruitful, you'll have to ask the right questions. Specifically, the one question you're not going to ask anyone else." Intrigued, Xald leaned against the wall, maintaining his distance. "Why?" Steve's smile softened. "That is a good question. It has multiple answers. The first answer is because I have no reason to lie to you. I'm alone here on a Galactic Council battle carrier." Xald nodded slowly, acknowledging the reasoning. "And the second answer?" Steve leaned back, his expression growing serious. "When humanity first reached the stars, we were elated. We had broken through the great challenge of faster-than-light travel and powered beyond the confinement of our homeworld. We colonized every habitable planet we found, introducing ourselves into balanced biospheres without knowing the consequences. The results were catastrophic. The original biospheres died off. Everywhere we went, we unintentionally destroyed life." Xald listened intently. The human was painting a picture of unintentional destruction on a galactic scale. "So what did you do?" Steve sighed. "We realized our mistake and began terraforming barren planets, trying to create life where we had destroyed it. But the damage was done. The planets died, and our efforts to recreate life failed. We became the destroyers of life and failed as creators." He continued. "Time passed, and we gained the ability to travel to other galaxies. We found one without a spacefaring civilization and vowed not to repeat our mistakes. We safeguarded life-bearing planets and terraformed only barren ones. We offered aid and technology to budding civilizations, helping them avoid our errors." Steve's eyes bore into Xald's, filled with sorrow. "We arrived in your galaxy and found a volatile piece among 157 spacefaring species. To preserve life, we had to become your enemy. We forced unity through a common foe, us." Xald was taken aback. "Your leaders forced you into this war as the Boogeymen." Steve shook his head. "The decision was not made lightly. It took centuries of debate and millennia of enforcement. Our third rule became, to preserve life, those with the knowledge must act. For 6,000 years, we fought to defend life-bearing planets in your galaxy, colonizing neighboring systems and establishing safe zones." He paused, letting his words sink in. 100 years ago, we discovered that the Galactic Council had expanded into prohibited systems, threatening life-bearing planets. The fourth rule was proposed. No system with a life-bearing planet can be occupied or interfered with unless contact is initiated by the native species. I am here to relay that message." Steve stood, his restraints falling away. Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. My ship is not captured. I am not your prisoner. This is not an interrogation. Your long-range communications are down. Your jump drive is not charging, and you will all be dead in 10 minutes. Zold's eyes widened in shock as the gravity of the human's words hit him. He had underestimated the human, and now it was too late. The revelation. Commander Zold stood frozen, his mind racing to process the human's revelation. The creature, Steve, had just dismantled their entire perception of control with a few sentences. The implications were staggering. As the seconds ticked by, Zold's initial shock turned into a desperate search for solutions. "You're bluffing," Zold said, his voice lacking conviction. Steve shook his head. "No bluff. You see, we learned a lot from our mistakes. One of the most important lessons was to always be prepared for every eventuality. Your ship is already compromised." Zold's eyes narrowed. "How?" Steve's smile returned, a hint of sadness in his eyes. "Our technology is far more advanced than you realize. We infiltrated your systems the moment you captured me. Your fate was sealed the second you brought me on board." A cold sweat broke out on Zold's skin. He had to act quickly. "What do you want?" he asked, his voice a whisper. "I want to prevent unnecessary bloodshed," Steve replied calmly. "Your people have been encroaching on prohibited systems, threatening the balance we've worked so hard to maintain. All I ask is that you heed our warning and retreat from those areas." Zold's pride and duty clashed within him. The thought of retreat was anathema to everything he stood for, but the human's confidence was unnerving. "And if we refuse?" Steve's expression hardened. "Then this ship, along with everyone on it, will be destroyed. We cannot allow any threats to life-bearing planets. The choice is yours, Commander." Zold felt the weight of his responsibility pressing down on him. His thoughts flickered to his crew, the thousands of lives under his command. Was he willing to sacrifice them out of stubborn pride? "What assurance do I have that you'll spare us if we comply?" Zold asked, grasping for any leverage. Steve's eyes softened again. "You have my word. Humanity's word. We don't seek to annihilate. We seek to protect. Withdraw from the prohibited systems, and you will be allowed to leave." Zold's mind raced. Could he trust this human? The legends spoke of their cunning and resilience, but also their capacity for honor. "I will need to consult with my superiors," Zold said, buying time. "You have 5 minutes," Steve replied, standing tall and unrestrained. "After that, the decision will be out of your hands." Zold hurriedly activated his communicator, his voice urgent. "Bridge, this is Commander Zold. Prepare to send an emergency transmission to High Command. Priority Alpha." As he awaited a response, Zold's eyes never left Steve. The human stood there, calm and composed, a stark contrast to the turmoil within Zold's mind. The command center buzzed with activity as his officers scrambled to comply with his orders. "Transmission ready, sir," came the reply. Zold quickly relayed the situation to High Command, summarizing the human's ultimatum and the dire circumstances. The response from his superiors was swift and unequivocal. "Retreat from the prohibited systems immediately. We cannot afford to lose the Void Jumper." Zold's heart sank, but he knew there was no other choice. "Understood, High Command." Turning back to Steve, Zold nodded. "We will comply. Our ships will withdraw from the prohibited systems." Steve's expression softened into a look of relief. "Thank you, Commander. You've made the right choice." The tension in the room eased slightly, though the weight of the decision still hung heavily. Zold could only hope that this would be the beginning of a new understanding between their species. As Steve moved to leave the cell, Zold spoke up. "What happens now?" Steve paused at the door, looking back. "Now, we monitor, and we hope that your people honor the agreement. Humanity does not wish to be your enemy, but we will do what is necessary to protect life." With that, Steve left the cell, leaving Zold to ponder the precarious balance between their species and the future of their galaxy. The aftermath. Back on the bridge of the Void Jumper, Commander Xald watched as his fleet began the withdrawal process. The orders had been given, and now it was a matter of ensuring compliance. His officers moved with a renewed sense of purpose, their earlier anxiety replaced with a cautious optimism. Xald's second-in-command, Lieutenant Orin, approached him with a mixture of relief and curiosity. "Commander, do you really think the human was telling the truth?" Xald sighed, his eyes still on the view screen. "I believe he was. Their technology, their history, it all aligns with what he told us. We can't afford to underestimate them." Orin nodded, his respect for the commander deepening. "It's just hard to believe that they would go to such lengths to protect life." Xald turned to face his lieutenant. "It's not so hard to believe if you consider their past mistakes. They've learned the hard way, and now they're trying to make amends. We should respect that." As the fleet continued to retreat, Xald's thoughts returned to Steve's words. The human had spoken with a conviction that was hard to ignore. Perhaps there was more to their species than the legends of their ruthlessness and resilience. Suddenly, the view screen flickered, and a holographic image of Steve appeared. The bridge crew tensed, but Xald raised a hand to calm them. "Commander Xald," Steve's voice resonated through the bridge. "I wanted to thank you for making the right decision. Humanity appreciates your cooperation." Xald stepped forward. "We will honor our agreement, Steve. But I have to ask, why reveal all of this to us now?" Steve's hologram smiled. "Because it's time for a change. The galaxy is vast, and there's room for all of us. We believe that by working together, we can achieve more than by remaining enemies." Xald nodded thoughtfully. "What happens now?" "Now," Steve said, "we continue to protect life. But we also seek to build bridges. We've extended an offer to the Galactic Council to open diplomatic channels. It's time we move beyond conflict." The bridge crew exchanged glances of surprise and hope. Xald's mind raced with the possibilities. Could this be the dawn of a new era of cooperation? "We will support your efforts," Xald said firmly. "It's time for a new chapter in our history." Steve's hologram gave a respectful nod. "Thank you, Commander. Together, we can make a difference." The hologram faded, leaving the bridge in a contemplative silence. Xald turned to his crew, seeing the mixture of hope and uncertainty in their eyes. "We have a chance to be part of something greater," he said. "Let's make the most of it." As the fleet continued its retreat, the mood on the Void Jumper shifted from one of tension to cautious optimism. The crew knew that they stood on the brink of a new era, one that could reshape the future of their galaxy. Xald took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his responsibility, but also a renewed sense of purpose. They had been given a second chance, and he was determined not to squander it. New alliances. Months passed since the encounter with Steve, and the Galactic Council had cautiously opened diplomatic channels with humanity. The initial meetings were tense, filled with centuries of mistrust and fear, but slowly progress was made. Commander Xald found himself at the forefront of these new alliances, representing his people in the discussions. The first official meeting between the Galactic Council and human representatives was a historic event, held on a neutral space station orbiting a barren planet. As Xald arrived at the meeting room, he was greeted by a familiar face, Steve. The human smiled warmly, extending a hand. "Commander Xald, it's good to see you again." Xald shook his hand, feeling a sense of camaraderie that had developed since their first encounter. "Likewise, Steve. How are the negotiations going?" Steve's expression grew serious. "It's been challenging, but we're making progress. There's a lot of mistrust to overcome, but the willingness is there." The meeting room was filled with representatives from various species, all gathered to witness the historic moment. As the discussions began, Xald felt a sense of pride in being part of this new chapter. Over the following months, the negotiations bore fruit. Agreements were made to protect life-bearing planets, share technology, and establish joint research projects. The focus shifted from conflict to cooperation, and the galaxy began to see the benefits of unity. One of the most significant achievements was the creation of the Intergalactic Council for Life Preservation, a joint effort to monitor and protect ecosystems across the galaxies. Zold was appointed as one of the leading figures in this new organization, working closely with Steve and other human representatives. The transition was not without its challenges. There were factions within the Galactic Council who still viewed humanity with suspicion, and incidents of hostility flared up occasionally. But the overall trend was one of progress and cooperation. Zold and Steve became close allies, working tirelessly to ensure the success of their joint efforts. Their shared vision of a peaceful and prosperous galaxy drove them forward, overcoming obstacles and forging new paths. One day, as they stood on the observation deck of the newly established Intergalactic Council headquarters, Steve turned to Zold with a thoughtful expression. "Do you ever think about how far we've come?" Zold nodded, gazing out at the stars. "Every day. It's hard to believe that just a few months ago, we were enemies. Now we're working together to build a better future." Steve smiled. "It's a testament to what can be achieved when we put aside our differences and work towards a common goal. There's still a lot of work to be done, but I'm optimistic." Zold felt a sense of satisfaction and hope. "As am I. We've made mistakes, but we've also shown that we can learn and grow. The future is in our hands." As they continued to work together, Zold and Steve knew that their efforts were just the beginning. The galaxy was vast and filled with challenges, but also with limitless possibilities. Together, they would navigate the unknown, driven by a shared commitment to protect life and explore the endless potential of their united species. The unknown. Years passed, and the alliance between the Galactic Council and humanity flourished. New technologies were developed, scientific breakthroughs achieved, and cultural exchanges enriched the lives of countless beings. The galaxy was undergoing a renaissance of cooperation and discovery. Commander Zold, now a respected leader within the Intergalactic Council for Life Preservation, found himself embarking on a new mission. A signal had been detected from a distant, uncharted region of space. It was unlike anything they had encountered before, and the Council decided to investigate. Zold was chosen to lead the expedition, and to his delight, Steve was appointed as his second-in-command. The two friends prepared for the journey, their excitement tempered by the unknown dangers that lay ahead. The expedition vessel, the Explorer, was state-of-the-art, equipped with the latest technology from both the Galactic Council and humanity. As they set off, the crew was a diverse mix of species, all united by a common purpose. As they approached the source of the signal, the tension on the ship was palpable. The signal grew stronger, its patterns increasingly complex. It was clear that they were on the brink of a significant discovery. "Are you ready for this?" Steve asked Zold as they stood on the bridge, monitoring the data. Zold nodded, his eyes fixed on the view screen. "Ready as I'll ever be. Whatever's out there, we'll face it together." The signal led them to a massive structure, floating in the void of space. It was ancient, its surface covered in strange symbols and markings. The crew was awestruck by its size and complexity. "Initiate scans," Zold ordered, his voice steady despite the excitement coursing through him. The scans revealed that the structure was a vast repository of knowledge, containing records and artifacts from countless civilizations. It was a treasure trove of history and wisdom, preserved through the ages. As they explored the structure, they uncovered relics and texts that shed light on the early history of the galaxy. It became clear that this discovery had the potential to reshape their understanding of the universe. But the structure also held dangers. Traps and automated defenses activated as they delved deeper, forcing the crew to use their skills and ingenuity to navigate safely. Steve and Zold worked together, their partnership stronger than ever as they faced the challenges. In the heart of the structure, they found a chamber filled with holographic records. An ancient being appeared, its form shimmering with energy. It spoke in a language that resonated with the very fabric of reality. "Welcome, seekers of knowledge," The being said, "You have found the repository, a beacon of wisdom from the ancients. Use this knowledge wisely, for it holds the secrets of creation and destruction." Zold and Steve exchanged a glance, the weight of the moment sinking in. They had discovered something extraordinary, a key to the mysteries of the universe. As they returned to the Explorer, the crew buzzing with excitement, Zold felt a sense of fulfillment. Their journey was just beginning, and the possibilities were endless. A new dawn. The discovery of the repository marked the beginning of a new era for the galaxy. The knowledge contained within its vast archives was shared with the Galactic Council and humanity, sparking a wave of innovation and understanding. Commander Zold and Steve were hailed as heroes, their names etched into the annals of history. The Intergalactic Council for Life Preservation expanded its mission, using the newfound knowledge to further their efforts in protecting and nurturing life across the galaxies. The repository's records revealed ancient technologies that revolutionized space travel, medicine, and energy production. Diseases were cured, new forms of energy harnessed, and the reach of exploration extended to previously unreachable corners of the universe. Cultural exchanges flourished as species learned from the ancient wisdom, enriching their societies and forging deeper bonds. The galaxy became a vibrant tapestry of interconnected civilizations, each contributing to the collective progress. Zold and Steve continued to work together, their friendship a cornerstone of the new era. They led missions to explore the farthest reaches of space, uncovering more remnants of the ancients and ensuring that their knowledge was used responsibly. One of their most significant achievements was the establishment of the Universal Library, a central hub where the knowledge from the repository and other discoveries was made accessible to all species. The library became a beacon of learning and cooperation, attracting scholars, scientists, and explorers from every corner of the galaxy. As they stood on the observation deck of the Universal Library, Zold and Steve reflected on their journey. The galaxy had changed dramatically since